I'm here with Rikki Simons and Tavisha Wolfgarth Simons. You are the creators of a very funny comic book from Tokyo Pop called Reality Check. Can you tell me a little bit about it?
Reality Check is about a little boy named Colin. Well, he's not that little. He's a teenager, and Colin has a cat named Catrice. She's a regular house cat, and this is a world where you have a virtual internet. It's sort of like our internet, except that in order to access it, you have to put on a little helmet, and when you put the helmet on, you sort of interact with everything virtually. It's sort of like you're there. Well, one day, Colin's cat Catrice sleeps under the helmet, and she gets her own online personality, or avatar, I guess you call it, and she thinks she's human, so she looks half human, and she spends all of her time wreaking havoc in his little world. So it's a little quick comedy. The idea was originally Tavisha's. Maybe she want to mention a little bit about her. Tell them about Reality Check.
Well, I was just, it was interesting. We first got the internet back in 1994, and I always loved kitties. And I told Rikki, gee, what would happen if a cat got online? She'd cause all kinds of trouble. And so for fun, I started to develop this idea with Rikki called Reality Check, about a boy who had a pet cat that would get him into all kinds of trouble online. And it was, I guess, 1996 by the time we actually published it all. And we originally self-published it, and it was in black and white. And eventually got picked up with Sirius Entertainment, and they made it in color. And for about till 1999, it was published in color by Sirius Entertainment. And now it's back in publication in black and white by Tokyo Pop.
When you work together on projects, what are your specific jobs?
Well, usually we sit down and we figure out the plot first, where we want to go with something, and then we fight about it. And then it's my job to write it, and I usually write a script. And I usually write the script so that the words that the characters are speaking are in the same shape as the word balloons that Tavisha is going to draw later on in the comic. Then I give the script to Tavisha, and she reads it, and then she draws something completely different. No, it's well, sometimes she does, but
Change it about 85%.
yeah, only 85% she changes it, and then she draws all the characters. Now the drawing process gets kind of complex, because usually with comics you have somebody penciling it and somebody inking it, but we do everything. So Tavisha will usually pencil and ink all of her own characters, and sometimes she leaves the backgrounds out for me to draw. And sometimes I'll hand draw the backgrounds, or sometimes I'll create the backgrounds using a 3D program. But in the end, we end up toning or coloring it together. And then it's left to letter it, which we use programs like Photoshop to do all the editing and coloring and toning. And we use programs like InDesign and Quark to do all the lettering and to lay it out as a book. That's pretty much the process.
I understand that you're doing an illustrated novel based on the Reality Check spin-off, Wrangle Chick and a Three-Legged Cat. Is that correct?
Yes, it is very correct. Wrangle Chick was originally a 2-issue comic, and usually in America, comics are about 24 pages in color, that sort of thing, and that's what Wrangle Chick was originally. Most comics nowadays are more the manga format. You know, they're very thick and black and white. But I wanted to do something completely different as far as comics and illustration goes. So with Wrangle Chick, I wrote a regular prose fiction novel. It's about 230 pages, and what that's going to do is it's going to incorporate the original color comics. Because in this book, Wrangle Chick, he's a little ghoul from the moon of Europa. He starts to become a comic book character in the book. So in the sections of the book where he becomes a comic book character, we go back into the original comic book format. For the sections where he's just a regular guy or regular ghoul, looks like that, this little guy here. For the parts where he's just his regular self, those are prose fiction, meaning a regular novel. and there's a different illustration for each page, and there's full color chapters. So that's what we're doing with that.
Rikki, my viewers have seen your artwork on TV shows like Jackie Chan Adventures and Invader Zim, haven't they?
Yes, well, you've seen, when it comes to Invader Zim and Jackie Chan Adventures, I was a colorist on those shows. My job on Invader Zim was to paint over 700 backgrounds, some stuff that looks like that. Jackie Chan Adventures, I painted about 500 backgrounds in the 3rd season. It's a lot of tedious work, especially Zim, because Zim, my job was to try and make it look like a motion picture feature as opposed to a regular television animation, so that requires a lot more work and a lot more time. So my comics production time while working on Invader Zim dropped to almost nothing because I was taking a lot of work home. I was doing a lot of stuff on the weekends, and I even had to get Tavisha involved and get her to help paint some backgrounds too. And that was just the two of us. Invader Zim had a crew of 5 painters altogether. Each of them did at least 500 backgrounds each. So it was a lot of work on that show.
Speaking of Invader Zim, there's something else you're known for on that particular show.
Yes, I am the voice of Gur. He's a little robot dog character. He's Invader Zim's sidekick. He's not that bright, some would assume. But I think that he's actually just, he's got some problems because he's got what, like a wad of gum and some other junk for a brain. He's a dysfunctional little robot, but people seem to love him, and fans are very nice to me when I come to conventions. They ask me to sing the Doom song all the time, which Gur is known for. Unfortunately, usually in elevators, and I'm trapped and I can't get out. So, but otherwise, it's a lot of fun.
Could you do the Gur voice?
Well, with Invader Zim, when I would go in to do voice acting on the show, they would pitch Gur's voice up electronically. So what I would do is I would come in and say, those are my taquitos, and all you're really hearing is my inflection, because then they pitch it right up, because I did it just like how you hear it now. The only time when I did the voice of Gur where it really sounded a lot like me is when he's screaming, because they can't pitch up the screaming too much because it blows out the equipment. So if I was going, I'm dancing like a monkey, that's pretty much me on the show. I also did the voice of another character called Bloaty the Pig. He was this giant fat man who wore a giant pig costume. They didn't do anything to my voice for that one. That one's just me. So when you hear him go, Bloaty hate his life, that's just me. So.
What advice would you have to a student who would like to make a living as an artist?
What advice would I have to give to a student who would like to make a living as an artist? Be original as much as you can. I know that seems strange coming, from somebody who works in manga format, but if you look at all the different manga books themselves, there is a different style to each of the creators' works. But even almost more so important than that is just work very hard, and even if it doesn't look like you're getting very far sometimes, just keep going at it, and make a lot of friends. I know it sounds kind of Hollywood stupid, but it is true that the more connections you make as an artist, the more potential you have to make jobs for yourself. Because artists are very they're very persnickety. They're very sort of closed in on themselves, and they only seem to like to work with people that they're sure of won't bother them. So that's why you do get a lot of artists who hire their friends and that sort of thing to work on projects, because they want to be comfortable when they work on the projects together. Neither Tavish and I went to college for this, what we do, but I think that there are some things that college can offer you as far as art goes, especially when it comes to learning new computer programs and that sort of thing, and design. So, but I think that the most important thing is just to be diligent and to do things on your own. Don't wait for other people to tell you to do things. Just do them, and then see what